Please be seated. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to spend a few minutes just talking about the nativity story. This kind of functions as maybe kind of a bit of a kid's time, but it's for all of us. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do a couple of different things. We're going to go through some nativity fun facts, because it's fun to talk about the nativity, which is such a story that, we kind of go through it, we talk about it, and then we move on to the new year. But some really interesting things in here, some curiosities that maybe you haven't thought before, which helps us kind of appreciate the richness of some of these stories, and then something forgotten at this time of year, something that the historic church has often focused on in Advent, but we've kind of more forgotten in recent times. So we're going to talk about that. I should move to the side so wherever you can see the actual nativity here. All right, so this will be fun, a little bit interactive, okay, as we go through. So let's go to the first one. So we're going to go through some fun facts. Because of the census, Joseph had to go to his ancestral town. What was it? We're starting with an easy one. Just shout it out. Bethlehem. The answer is Bethlehem. That's right. Okay. Good. We're rolling. 1 for 1. All right, next one. What was the purpose of the census? Taxes. Okay. All right. Was that senseless taxis? That's a quote from the puppet show last night, from the early service. That's right. Senseless taxis. Driving all over the place. It was crazy. There's no laws over in Judea. Actually, the purpose of the census is twofold. It would have been taxation, but also military purposes. And so the Romans would have a census. So to count people for taxation and military service. Now, the reason why during the Christmas Eve in the nativity stories we focus on taxation is because Jewish people were exempt from Roman military service. And so they were exempt from that. Therefore, the focus for them is on taxation. All right, next question. How far was it from Nazareth to Bethlehem? Far. 100 kilometers about? Have a guess? All right. Okay. Couple of days. Yeah, I'm not sure the length, because it depends how long they would have traveled each day. Also, Mary's pregnant, right? So actually, it's about 140 kilometers. So 100 is close, and that's based on what they felt the route would have been at that day. That's pretty far. So imagine that you're traveling. So it's Joseph and Mary. No donkey is mentioned in the story, by the way, but they would have needed some help. So we're assuming some sort of animal that would have been common to people, kind of lower middle income, would have been used. So that's why a donkey comes into it. 140 kilometers. So that's from here to Burlington. Or I looked it up on, I was going to say MapQuest, but Google Maps. Here to between Huntsville and Berks Falls. So halfway there, between Huntsville and Berks Falls to here, that's about the distance. And not only that, there's no cars, planes, trains, and not as many accommodations. And it was very dangerous to travel, especially at night, because marauding bands of robbers would be hiding in the foothills sometimes. And so that's why people would travel in caravans. And so you remember how the story when Jesus is a boy and at the temple, and they leave, and Mary and Joseph don't know where he is for a day. What? Are you bad parents? But the idea is that so many people from the town would have been traveling in a caravan, so kids and people, a bunch of people. But in this situation, people going different directions, that was less likely, so it would have been more dangerous of a trip. All right, next. How long were Mary and Joseph in Bethlehem before Jesus was born? Have a guess?
I'm going to give it a guess.
3 months? Maybe. That's possible. So when we see nativity plays and stuff or productions, it's like knocking feverishly on doors. They've just arrived and there's no room for them. It simply doesn't say they've arrived and then at some point Mary has the child. So it could have been a passage of a couple weeks. We know that obviously she's pregnant. She goes there, and so she has the baby while still there. So we don't know. It could have been a couple weeks. Could have been a couple months. It's hard to say for sure. So the Bible doesn't say. Is the answer. All right, next. How old would Mary have been when she gave birth? I hear some guesses. Just shout. 13, 14, 15, yeah. 15, 16, survey says. Okay. Probably early to mid-teens, so we don't know. I'm guessing 14. And this is based on kind of convention at the time. So Sarah's 13, my oldest daughter right here. So imagine 14. That was common. Just to give you a sense. Next question. That's young. Think of how scary all this stuff would have been, but also all the stuff she was going through and what was happening with her and Joseph and betrothal and everything else. All right, how many wise men were there? Careful. Careful. Oh, yeah, Brad says. Brad says don't know. Someone says 3. Okay. Oh, wait, Ben, sorry, Ben, you have an answer. 3, okay, 3, 5. Gave them 3 things, a lot, okay, let's see. More than one. That's all we know. Because the reason is because it says magi, which is plural, so we know there's more than one. But it simply does not say. Now, the reason that tradition has said 3 is because there's 3 gifts: gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Okay, one person has given one person gold, one person frankincense, one person myrrh, but not necessarily. So it could have been 2 people. One of them could have given gold and frankincense, and a third myrrh. There could have been 5. We simply don't know. But of course, what is ingrained in our heads? We 3 kings of, although they're not kings, but anyway, it's probably a quote from a reference to one of the Psalms. Anyway, next one. Okay, these are the curiosities. Okay, these are kind of things that are more, we have talked about these things less, but they kind of help give us a sense of the historical context of what was going on maybe. What time of year was Jesus born? And you're like, we're here today, so what are you talking about? I don't know. Any guesses? Summer, January, winter, September, maybe. All right, let's see. Uncertain, but probably September. If you're to think that it was unlikely that shepherds were grazing their fields then, just as unlikely as it would be today in that part of the world, it would have been tricky for that. But scholars have tried to analyze this based on that, based on some other factors, based on when his cousin John's father, Zechariah, was taking his turn in the temple rotation. Like they try to do some of these things, and they think, okay, probably September. So you ask, well, why December 25th then? Well, over the years, you kind of attach a date to certain events, and that's okay, right? So we don't know the specific date. You want to choose a date. And so December 25th was already a holiday for the Romans. And so as Christianity grew and became more influential in the Roman Empire, since that was already a holiday, why not piggyback on that? The feast day for St. Nicholas is December 6th, so some people say, well, they've pulled that date backwards. But the important thing isn't what date it was, but that he was born and the reason he came to be born. So let's say a child is dropped on your front stoop and you take care of that child and you raise them. Well, you don't know what birth date, it technically is. So you choose a date, and that's the day you celebrate their birthday and how important they are. The specific date doesn't matter so much. Okay, so that's a bit of a curiosity. Was Jesus born inside or outside? Manger. Outside, inside, okay, yeah. Okay, what does it say? We are only told that he was born in a manger, which could have been indoors or outdoors, okay? So sometimes a manger could be indoors something, maybe that's why the stable is mentioned, some sort of stable, which could very likely have been kind of cut out of a side of a rocky hill. And sometimes remember, because if it's September, we're thinking that it could have been outside as well. Sometimes animals are inside, sometimes outside. The focus is on the manger. So in the story, the manger is specifically told to us 3 times. Manger, manger, manger. It comes up time and time again. And part of the reason for that is because that's the detail that we are supposed to remember, the lowly feed trough into which the Lord of the universe is born. So it's mentioned multiple times for us to focus on that detail. All right, something forgotten. So I've got up there, Advent means coming, which we know. We talk about that, the coming of Christ, right? But here's the thing that's kind of been forgotten over time. This time of year is meant to prepare us not only for Jesus' first coming, his birth, but for his second coming, his return. So historically through the church, Advent has been a period not just of preparing for the birth of Jesus, but really thinking about when he's actually going to come back. And this is something that we've lost a little bit, especially as Christmas has become bigger and bigger and more commercialized in the wider culture. And so because of this, I just want to highlight 4 things about his return, his second coming, that we're going to focus on, think about. Okay, as we wait for Jesus' return, we don't know when. That's good to focus on. We don't know when. Matthew 24:36 tells us so. We don't know the day or the hour. Now, some people through history have tried to make guesses. And they've organized these movements around certain guesses. And people say, hey, Jesus says don't know the day or the hour. Why are you even bothering? He says, well, it says we don't know the day or the hour, but we might know the week and the year. Like, no, that's a technicality. No, sorry, don't bother trying to guess. We don't know. Okay, number 2, be ready. And so whenever there's passages about Jesus returning one day, there's always a focus on readiness, like there is in Mark 13:35. Be alert. You know not when the master of the house will come. So there's readiness. We should be ready. And so a lot of the ethics and the morality are in the New Testament. This isn't the only reason, but a lot of those reasons are because we should be ready. We don't want to be caught spiritually sleeping. Okay? All right, next. Live holy and godly lives. So this comes up in 2 Peter 3:11. So we're supposed to live a certain way as we anticipate the return of Jesus. To live holy and godly lives. So to live holy this isn't holier than thou or anything like that. It simply means you are set apart for a special godly purpose. Right? Set apart for a special godly purpose in your life. And godly is we want to be Christ-like. So we are being Christ. So when he returns, we want him to find us being holy, living differently for him, and growing in Christ-likeness. And then the last one I'll focus on is be loving, even though most people will become less loving. Now that's interesting, Matthew 24:12. So the idea is that we are to be loving. The love of most will grow cold, it says. There'll be an increase in wickedness. So even though people are thinking, okay, yeah, we want to be loving, actually, and people around us, a lot of people will say they're loving and do these different things, but actually, they will become less actual love in the world, and it will actually become a more difficult situation. And so we are to be loving. That's our call. We want to be loving no matter what, because that's what Jesus invites us to do. Okay, so there's something forgotten that we can kind of reflect on as we think about Christmas and prepare for the coming of Jesus a second time. So finally, I just want to show you this bumper sticker. This is popular. Jesus is coming. Look busy. Ever seen this? Who has this on the car? No? Okay, I don't know. By the way, have you seen it right around Barrie? There's someone with like massive kind of Jesus on the side of the car. Have you seen that? I don't know who that is. Anyway, driving around. And anyway, I saw them one time, gave them the thumbs up. But Jesus is coming, look busy. I don't think he's going to be tricked, right? Busyness, right? Make busy work. But Jesus is coming at some point. We don't know when, but we do want to be holy. We want to be godly. We want to be loving, and so that he finds us ready and prepared for when he does return. All right. So with those few thoughts, we're going to move into our prayers of the people. So please